Hello! This is Anna from Pretty Shepherd, and today I want to show you how to make a Regency Era hairstyle. I attended a Regency Era ball in Helsinki, Alexander's ball, a commemoration of an actual historical event when Tsar Alexander I visited Helsinki in 1809. The dress that I wore was actually inspired mostly by later Regency fashion, specifically 1823. And that has a whole story of its own, which I might make a video about. Now back to the hairstyle for this ball. I've already shot a trial for this hairstyle, which I wasn't able to cut and edit and upload because of so many reasons. And at the eve of the ball, when I was doing the hairstyle, I actually came up with some tricks that I haven't realized I could do until then. So now I decided, a week after the ball, I'm actually going to redo the whole shebang. My original idea for this Regency hairstyle was to curl all of my hair, which didn't work out so good for me as I have very long hair, as you might see. Actually knee-length hair. So I've simplified it a bit in a sense that there's less curls going on and more braiding, which is easier to do on my hair. I'm going to curl the front bits of my hair because that's a historical must for this era. Most of the women, or rather most of the paintings and portraits or fashion plates from this era all have illustrations with women that have short curls around their head. Towards the beginning of this age, they have it a lot around their forehead as well, and then the curls move towards the side more, kind of transitioning into more romantic early Victorian hairstyles. And that's what I went for. That's probably the only thing I can do with these really long strands. However, who knows? In some time I might come up with a great idea for the really tiny curls framing the forehead as well, but not now. This is not the time. The tricky bit is that even when the curls were used more towards the side, they were still quite short compared to my hair. So I had to work out a method in which I can shorten my hair in the front. But for the first bit, I'm going to show you how I curl my hair with rag curls. Just a few things that should be known about my hair. First of all, it's naturally wavy, kind of curly, but since it's so long, the weight just pulls it down, so it's a lot more straight than it would normally be. So this natural wave actually helps hold the curls very well. So I'm lucky in this regard. I can curl my hair and it stays like that for weeks. The second thing is I've washed my hair before the ball, which was almost a week ago. So this is like 6 days without washing it, which is completely fine for me, as I actually only wash my hair once a month. I know it's shocking, or rather it might be shocking to some people. It's the way it just works out for me with my hair texture, genetics, and my lifestyle and everything else. A lot of other reasons play a very big part in my ability to wash it only once a month. I know this may not work out for everyone, but this is what works for me. And as you can see, it's not greasy, oily, dirty, or anything of the sort. Now, regarding the oily bit, I've actually used quite a lot of oil on the front of my hair so I could comb out the curls. This was curled just a week ago for the ball, and that's why it might look a little bit oily. Obviously, it's because of the oil. As you can see, I've separated the front bits of my hair and then I pulled the rest back up into a bun. I only paid attention to the middle parting because that's the only thing that's going to show. These parts over here will not show at all, so it's not a big deal if they're not perfect. I'm going to use rag curls. I already have my rags cut out over here. I have plenty of them. Now, here's my trick for curling extra long hair. You can't really see my face right now, but that's not the point. You have to see my knees, as strange as that sounds. Here's my little strand of hair. I'm going to add some water to it. This upper part, it doesn't even have to be curled for this style. So here's my hair and my knees, and I'm really going to try and show you really close. This is how I start to roll it. I'm holding my hair halfway through with my knees so that I can get the tension toward the tip. If any of you has really long hair and tried to do rat curls, this is one of the greatest impediments, that you can't get the right tension because you can't really reach the end of your hair. Okay, but we can do it this way. Yay! And you might be wondering, oh, that's not the only impediment I face. I get tangles when I try to take out the rags. Well, I can say to you, worry not, because I figured out a way for that as well. I'm going to divide this side into a total of 5 or 6 strands, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side, and I'm going to curl all of those little strands. A few hours have passed. Hopefully all of my curls have dried. I already talked about how Regency Hairstyles in the front had all these little curls, but I didn't talk much about what they did in the back. There was quite a lot of variety. Curled buns in the back, or kind of like masses of curls, were very popular as well, since the fashion of the era was trying to imitate the fashions of ancient Greece and ancient Rome, so like the ancient times in general. All of these beautiful Grecian sculptures with their updos, that's what they were going for. Then again, there were some other styles as well. Buns, so more secure braided buns. There's quite a lot of variety that can be seen in paintings and fashion plates. So what I went for is a bun quite high up on the head, a braided bun. I tried an 8-strand braid for the ball, which turned out more or less alright. And now I'm going to attempt that again. I'm going to section off some hair closest to the nape of my neck, and those I'm going to use at the end to do a little cross. You really don't need a lot of hair, so I think this much will do. I put all the hair in a ponytail right over here, and I've parted it into 8 strands and used some of these small little elastics just wrapped around twice so I can slide them down as I go. It's easier to keep track of the strands. I know there are quite a lot of techniques to do an 8-strand braid or multiple strand braids. But what I generally use for anything 4 and upwards is actually, I'm aware, more of a weave than a braid, but it gives a nice outcome anyway. So that's what we're going to do. Now I'm going to call this one my first strand, and I'm going to go under my second one, over the third, under the fourth, over this one, under, over, and under again. Now I like to take the strand that I just went through with and put it in my mouth, just so I keep some tension, especially while I'm working up here. It's a little bit confusing. So as you can see, it's coming along nicely. Now it seems that I have enough of a length of braid to shape the crown bun that I'm going for. So instead of torturing myself with this braid longer, I'm just going to switch to 3-strand braid. It's actually going to add some nice texture around the base of this crown bun. So I actually like the way it turns out with the 2 kinds of braids. It looks like it would be 2 different strands of hair, instead of just one that's finished off a different way than it was started. In the meanwhile, I was also pulling out these little small elastics. With this length of hair, when I'm making buns, more often than not, I don't even tie off the ends, because I know I'm just going to pin it somewhere and it's not going to come undone. I know that the base of the braid didn't turn out quite as neat as the rest. I'm actually content with my hair being natural, so I'm going to shape this like so, perhaps. I'm just using normal bobby pins for this. And over here, where it's a little bit more puffy, because it's the start of the braid, here, I'm just going to pin these down a little bit. Now I'm going to take the end, the accent braid, and I'm going to wrap it around the base once more. So you see how interesting that is? Yeah, my hair color is also different. On the closer to the roots, it's more white than it's towards the tips, so that also gives it a more interesting look, I think. So I actually like the way how the braid in the middle has a little bit of a higher point. I think that will go very nicely with the tiara. I'm going to separate into 2 bits. I will take one, brush it up, and place it diagonally on the other side of the bun. See what a neat little line it creates? I'm going to use one of these spirals to pin it in place. And now I'm going to do a rope braid to act as an accent braid around the bun. I'm going to add that around the base. Just like so. And then pin it. So now the very same for the other side, diagonally opposite. And we can see how there's a line. Work it around the bun just the same way. So here's the back. And the front looks like this. We have all kinds of different types of braiding. And now onto the curls. This method might actually seem a little bit wasteful to some, but it's not so bad if the rags that you use are actually rags, meaning that you can't really use them for much else than to dust your furniture. Which these were. There were some very old sheets that I cut up. I'm going to take scissors and very, very carefully cut right next to where the hair is. So I'm pulling back with these fingers. I'm cutting the fabric right next to the hair. So this way I can actually pull out the rag very, very easily. Here we have our curl. A lot of times my hair was getting damaged from rag curls, but I realized that it was mostly because of the way I was trying to pull the curls out. So this way you may not be able to reuse your rags, but if you genuinely use something that's meant to be a rag, then it's not really that much of a waste. But these rags are made of cotton, so they will break down anyway. Now that I have all of my rag curls undone, which turned out pretty lovely, I'm going to put on my tiara, this tiara. For keeping the tiara in place, I'm going to use 2 of these spiral pins. Better make sure it's symmetrical now. I'm going to take this hair, comb it just a little bit, not too much because we don't want to get all the tangles into the curls, because curls are tangly as they are already. So I'm just going to twist it a little bit and pin it to the side of the bun with one of these spirals. So my hair in the front never sits the same. If you're lucky enough to be able to make a parting that's going to sit the same, congratulations. This over here just poofs up all the time, so there's not much I can do against that. I'm just going to embrace it. This already is a really nice hairstyle if you're asking me, but I really want to give the impression of those little front curls. So what we're going to do is take the ends of our curls and work it into the front of our hair here. Since I am going gray and I have a lot more gray hair towards the front middle of my head, I want to pay attention and pick out the strand with the most gray hair in it. It's these 2 actually, and I'm going to work these 2 in the front for sure. Since this one is the neatest, I'm going to use it first. It's the one that we're going to end up seeing the most. So now is a good time to decide how long you want that curl to be. I actually want to go for a layered effect, so the ones closer to my forehead will be shorter and the ones closer to my ear are going to be longer. I was doing it and I wasn't explaining, but you could see I just separated a tiny bit of hair in the front and I slipped the end through it. You might want to pin each of these separately. I'm going to lift this curl that's left over and just hook it over the tiara so it's out of the way. I'm going to take the next strand that I think has the most gray hair, which might be this one, and I'm going to measure how much of it I want hanging compared to the other one, maybe like so. Just work it in kind of next to it. you want to pin these hairs closer to the middle of your forehead because they will have a tendency to slip down. Okay, now these kind of have the same amount of gray hairs in them. And now these two are really nice and neat. I want them hanging quite low next to my ear. You can still adjust these by pulling at them. It's harder to push back, so if you've arrived at a length that you figure might be good, then it might be smarter to stop than to keep on tugging, because then you'll have to work it back in, and that's a bit more complicated. We're left with this mess of curls, which is great because Regency hairstyles use a lot of curls anyway. I'm just bunching it up and I'm going to pin it in the back. I just pinned it to the bun. That's it. That's it. That's the trick. Here you have these little cute curls. I'm going to work these in just as well, and I'll get back to you with the finished look. As silly as it sounds, I totally forgot to turn on the microphone for the end of the video. So here's everything that you couldn't actually hear me say during the video footage. I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial infused with history. And if you did, you can let me know by rating this video with a thumbs up, or by leaving a comment about what you like best about Regency hairstyles. Also, I hope you'll have lots of fun applying these little tips and tricks on super long hair. And if you do, let me know how it turned out. I'd love to find out how these might be applied on hairs of different lengths and textures. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this kind of content, because I'm set on making a habit out of these videos. And if you're interested in even more Pretty Shepherd, you can check out my Instagram too.